Hi, I'm Colleen Raleigh, a retired FBI special agent, and I was the former legal counsel of the Minneapolis FBI office for 13 years towards the end of my career. This, in fact, is quite a tangled web. It looks like this counterintelligence special agent in charge in New York began in the last year of his career by just hustling to get a lucrative, make a lot of money after retirement by making contacts with different foreign sources and networking, essentially networking in order to become, like a lot of others, a lobbyist for foreign interests. And he did this in different ways. There are two different indictments, and so it's kind of complicated. He's indicted in Washington for that last year of his career, where he traveled abroad to, I think, to Albania and maybe Bosnia, meeting with different officials of governments that he did not disclose on these Office of Government Ethics forms. And those Office of Government Ethics forms are designed to prevent a conflict of interest. Of course, by not disclosing the travel and not disclosing a payment or a loan on other official forms, he was, covering up the fact that he was hustling to develop this network of different people that could possibly, make money. Now, again, this is not unusual in Washington. You've seen the indictment of Flynn for virtually, similar thing. He was hustling with Turkish officials. And I think a lot of people don't realize that as long as it's not a so-called enemy or a sanctioned country, then they think they can do this. Law firms are employed to lobby for various foreign interests. So it's not clear that he understood how wrong this was. But then after retirement, he keeps going, and obviously there are some deep pockets out there. There are billionaire oligarchs and other billionaires all over the world, and people in his situation who already have some influence in a public service are ripe for going to work for these billionaires. And again, I don't think that his situation is totally unique, except that he got caught. And with public corruption, it's very hard to investigate public corruption. There are only a couple of ways that you can unearth or discover this, because essentially the person paying the bribe is happy to get that influence, and then the person receiving it is making money, so they're not going to talk. So sometimes somebody in that conspiracy, eventually, it's not like they necessarily get a conscience, but if they get caught at a lower level, they may well then expose higher ups. That's one way of uncovering some public corruption. The other way is through an undercover. And that happened back in the AB scam in 1979, where the FBI pretended to be a wealthy Middle Eastern sheikh or whatever with a briefcase full of money, and 6 or 7 congresspersons immediately grabbed the money. And so those are the couple of ways, but by and large, it's not easy to find these things out. And my guess would be that McGonigal got away with it for some time. I mean, the Office of Government Ethics forms are probably not reviewed very well. They're electronically filed, and they certainly don't look behind the face of the form to see if that was actually true, that those were the countries, those were the people that he met. They don't really investigate those much, and it's my guess, my opinion. So I doubt that he was, I think he got caught later on, and maybe possibly because someone in that group talked or was caught himself. And then the FBI said, "Now what more do you know?" And this came out. And then they went backed up and checked the forms, etc. Well, there's a precedent for an FBI official that, and in fact, a far worse precedent of Robert Hansen, who was actually working for the Soviet Union as a spy and giving out identities. And here's the deal. The FBI trusted Robert Hanssen that they put him in charge of the task force that was trying to discover who the spy was. Okay, that's incredible precedent. So, of course, McGonigal falls into that a little bit later. Most of the allegations before his retirement deal with his connection to Albania and Bosnia and Herzegovina and other foreign interests that he lied about. But the timeline is that when the Russian oligarch becomes sanctioned is after McGonigal has already retired. So there's a difference of the timeline. And certainly this doesn't seem to rise up to the level of espionage as Robert Hanssen, but the irony is the same, that the FBI puts a person in charge of counterintelligence who has this, vulnerability, and then also, seducing into making money through, thinking he can make money from his prior position of public service. I think one impact will be there will be some people that were at lower levels of the career path that may learn a lesson from watching what happened to McGonigal. I think that may happen, and maybe you won't have quite as much vulnerability to being recruited, like a Robert Hanssen or whatever, or a McGonigal. You wouldn't have quite as much vulnerability. Hopefully people will smarten up after seeing what happened to Flynn and McGonigal. So I don't think it would affect the work of most of your good FBI agents who are good investigators doing the work. But I'm not so sure that the people in Washington will learn a lesson from what's going on now with the public corruption. And maybe they do need, I think I've said this before, maybe they do need to do another ab scam. Maybe they do need to do another undercover and target widely a lot of people with power, because it's very seductive to think you can make a lot of money when you get power. And it's certainly not just the FBI. It's all of these powerful figures in all of the agencies in the executive branch and even in Congress. So when they get power, they look to revolving door and, okay, I was a congressman for 10 years. Now I can become a lobbyist and make a lot of money. I think that's the root thing that needs to be fixed. Well, what will happen, I think, is that there are probably already cooperating witnesses. And my guess is that once the attorneys see the evidence, that he will probably plead guilty to some lower charges. I would be really surprised if he got a lengthy prison term. My guess is that there are these OGE false statements carry 5-year term. And so if he only pleads guilty to one or two of those, he could get as little a prison term as just, maybe a couple of years up to maybe 5 or 6 years. I'd be surprised if he gets more than that. This, after all, is not quote unquote espionage like Robert Hanssen. I don't think, unless some charges get added. I doubt that. But so that's my opinion is how it will end. And then he may testify. They're going to use this also in a PR way. Already the news media are using this in PR way, and political partisans are using it. They're saying, oh, maybe McGonigal, since he was involved in the Russiagate, he had some minor roles in the Russiagate. Maybe he was helping Russia during Mueller's investigation. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that this can be exploited. And I would think that's going to happen just because of the political polarization. And the media, I think, will use it. So I'm looking for more problems, unfortunately. I'm pessimistic that things can be fixed quickly. But and there's very few people that are taking an overall look at it for the good of everyone, for good of the country.